What's up guys and girls, it's your boy The Hunter Fisher. Welcome back to another epi banger video. Today I have a interesting one for you guys and girls. So if you guys have been watching my channel for like any time in the last year, you're going to see a lot of content I made about BFS fishing gear. Now, the thing is with BFS fishing gear, to get most of the gear to do said BFS fishing, you have to go to a JDM website, you have to find these weird rods. Even some people are getting custom rods made for BFS. And the thing about BFS is you need a rod that can cast and light lure. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's pretty hard to find a lot of your lighter casting rods, especially for casting, because that's the whole point of BFS, is to cast light lures on casting gear. Now, probably the most visited place in, I would say, the entire country of the US, the most visited place to buy any type of fishing gear in the United States is probably going to be good old Bass Pro Shops. Now, Bass Pro Shops has so much fishing gear, it's not even funny, but for my Bass Pro Shops, it's kind of slim pickings, I'm not gonna lie, but there's a lot of other Bass Pro Shops that have a lot more tackle and have a lot more gear for finesse fishing, finesse rods, and finesse gear in general. And I know there's a ton of ultralight gear because Bass Pro Shops is also a good place to buy a lot of your trout gear, a lot of your walleye gear, sauger gear, all that type of stuff. But today, guys and girls, what I'm talking about, because it's the hardest thing to find in the US domestic market right now, is BFS rods. That's right, yeah. Bass Pro has BFS rods. Not necessarily designed to be BFS, designed to be lighter casting gear. Do I think that these rods are great? Kind of. I think they're a good option. I think if you're looking for something to fit that need, I think it's there. But there's actually 3 total rods from Bass Pro. I have them next to me. 3 total rods from Bass Pro that actually work great for BFS. Well, great is a relative term compared to what's available in the United States right now besides Dobbins and Old 18. It's pretty great, I would say. So let's start out from the bottom, which is kind of like the cheapest end of this Bass Pro rod range. This is the Microlite Glass casting rod. So this rod is a pistol grip rod. If you're a pistol grip person, I don't know, man, them grandpas can slay them 10 pounders on pistol grip. I'm telling you, pistol grip, this is your deal, I would say. Pistol grip, if you're looking for comfort, if you're somebody who's a trout fisherman using a little bit of heavier lures, I see this being extremely ideal for a good little combo. This rod is 4'10" and it's weighted for 1/16 to 3/8 ounce. Now, I believe this rod was probably meant for Zebcos, most likely, but it's a breakdown rod, and total lengthwise is only this long. This is probably about 34 inches if I had to take a guess. It's not 3 feet, or I don't know, man. I'm giving it a lot of credit here. I think this might be more like I can kind of use my arm, maybe 20 something inches. I don't know. I'm not good with that type of measurement right off the top of my head. I have a ruler around here somewhere, but I'm not going to look for it because this is going to be a quick video. But this rod is great if you're somebody who's backpacking, you're going on a trout camping trip, you're going to catch, clean, cook some trout. I think that this rod is super ideal for that because this is a glass rod. It's awfully whippy. If you're somebody who likes a whippy rod, if you're somebody who likes a whippy rod, I think this is definitely the rod for you. I'm not a big whippy rod guy. This is all fiberglass. In Florida, fiberglass doesn't really do well with grass, so I'm not the biggest fan of this rod from my techniques. Now, that's not to say that this honestly is a really good backup play around rod. Like, I genuinely would play around with this rod. That's the reason why I bought it. And this rod I actually ordered online because I can't even find it in my store. But this rod right here is like 25 bucks, and we call it the banana rod. I'm an employee at Bass Pro Shops, so this is the banana rod, and of course I received it at a discount, but it was a good rod to try. And at Bass Pro, we call this the banana rod because it's literally as wobbly as a banana. The handle is bending. Like, come on now. It's a banana rod. But this rod is a good option if you're looking for something as a backup rod, cheap rod, trout rod, anything like that. I can see this rod being a good option for you guys who are starting to get into BFS. Heck, I used to put the Zephyr on here, and honestly, it worked out pretty good. Put some 6-pound line on there and a Zephyr. Had a good time. Now, just a slight, tiny step above that rod is this rod right here. This is the Crappie Maxx. So this is a new series from Bass Pro Shops. I actually believe it came out this past year. This is a casting rod, obviously probably meant for Zebcos again, but this rod is rated for a 1/16 to a 1/4 ounce, so slightly heavier rod than the last, but this has a fast action, and arguably, I don't know about that. That's a mod fast. That's a mod fast action rod. I think this rod is gonna be great for those bluegill anglers. If you're somebody who's getting into bluegill fishing, but you don't use extra light stuff, I think this is a good rod to throw things like rooster tails. I think this is a good rod for beetle spins. I think this is a good rod for underspins like the road runners. I think this is a good rod for probably bobber fishing, to be honest with you, because I mean, it lets you flop out your line a little bit more accurately. And I would say that this is a good rod for that. And if you're somebody who's a split grip lover, this rod's for you. I mean, that other rod had a full pistol grip, but this is a split grip and it's foam. And I believe, honestly, I'm probably going to keep this rod for a while. This rod has done... I've actually not tested this rod like I ideally want it to. I was going to put my Daiwa on it and go put it out for some bluegill and speck fishing to see if I can get in on a few. But honestly, if you're somebody who's getting ready for the crappie spawn near you, or speck spawn as I like to call it, I would say that this right here is the rod for you. I actually got this rod in a store. When I was down in Orlando, Florida, I actually stopped through and I said, oh my gosh, they have the rod. I've been looking for this rod in store forever because it's $30. And of course, like I said, get a discount. But this rod is a great little rod if you're somebody who's looking for bass finesse. If you're looking for Ned rigs, drop shots, things like that. Now, the length leaves a little bit more to be desired as far as that goes. But at 6 foot and a light action rod, you really can't beat this deal that's going on here. I would say that if you're really looking for a good BFS replacement rod for the time being, if you're missing out on a good rod, if you're saving up for a fancy rod, or if you just really want to keep BFS simple, if you don't want to spend a lot of money, this is probably the rod for you. Now, Bass Pro actually makes a kind of a light line casting reel called the Crappie Maxx. I've yet to try it, and I honestly don't know if they're going to even make it anymore, because to my understanding, they've actually contracted a company to make a BFS reel, but you didn't hear that from me. But supposedly it would probably go with this rod. And ideally, I think this is a good option if you're somebody who hasn't really gotten into the BFS game, because if you're struggling to find a good rod. So this rod, I could definitely see you casting a drop shot on. I could definitely see you casting weightless rigs, anything on this rod. Granted, that power is not a little bit, it's going to be a little bit slim. And I also think that this action is a little bit too slow for things like weightless Texas rigs, but a popper. Now, a popper is a completely different story. I think this is a perfect papa. I think this would be ideally to me, if I were to buy this rod, the #1 technique style I'm going to be fishing is small topwater, Rapala floaters, Rapala jointed minnows, Rapala poppers, Eurotackle poppers, crick hoppers, all those different style of like creek lures essentially is what I would always use those for. This is that rod in my opinion. Those top water style rods, top water style lures with this a little bit faster action versus the Microlite Glass, I think this is going to fit that bill. If you're somebody who's looking for a good summer BFS rod, I think this is the rod for you. I really like this rod. Let's get on to the last rod. Now, the last rod I've actually have 2 pieces for. The reason why is because it had broke on me, but that's okay, because this actually leads me to the one thing I love about this series of rods from Bass Pro. But let me tell you about the rod first. This is the Carbonlite 2.0. This is a very much higher priced rod. This is $130 regular price. It has wind grips, has a line power identification thing on it. It is a 7 foot medium light is what they identify it as. This is rated for a 1/16 to a ½ ounce, and I know that range sounds extremely wide, especially for BFS. But I'm not gonna lie to you, it really is that wide. I genuinely think that this rod can do anything from a 1/16 to a ½ ounce. I could throw jerk baits on this. I could throw Ned rigs on this. Actually, the Ned rig was really the only lure that was ever thrown on this rod for the time being while I had it. Now, I have other rods that have replaced this rod, hence why I haven't even taken it back to return it or anything, but this rod is a good rod, and the return policy is particularly great. The reason why is because there's a 10-year limited warranty, especially on the Johnny Morris signature rods. Now, I'm a Bass Pro employee. I definitely say if you're looking at a nicer rod and you're not wanting to go super cheap, I'd say go to the Carbonlite series. Doesn't matter if it's for BFS, doesn't matter what it's for. This rod is great. I had it paired with my Curado BFS for a while, and it was great for throwing around Ned rigs for redfish during the time that I had it. Redfish and trout I used it for. Like I said, I use this for salt water. Let me clarify that. Salt water. Yes, I mean like trout, redfish, everything under the moon I threw it for. I've caught bass, I've caught trout, redfish, flounder, And I even caught needlefish on this thing. Yes, a needlefish. Oh, and a ladyfish. I also caught a ladyfish on this thing. This rod kind of does it all. If you're looking for a Bass Finesse BFS rod, this is the rod. Let me clarify that for you. If you're throwing wacky rigs, if you're throwing flukes, if you're throwing, I don't know what else. If you're looking for a rod that's seriously so attainable to get, you can just order it online from Bass Pro Shops. This is probably the rod, and I genuinely think it's good. And like I said, that warranty is nice because if you're like me and you're prone to injury, this rod, literally what happened is I went to go lift a fish up from the water. It was like a 5-inch like bass or something. I forgot what it was because I broke this a couple weeks ago now. I want to say it was a small red actually. I was lifting up a small red, like literally not even far from the bank, and trust me, I've done that a lot with this rod. So probably over time it broke, but granted, it's still a great rod. It's not a solid tip rod, so it's not as sensitive as I'd prefer it to be, but it does have these micro guides that are awesome on it. And like I said, it's covered underneath that warranty, and I'm not telling you to buy it because of the warranty. I'm telling you they really trust their products to put that warranty on it, and that they want you to have a good product. So this is a good rod while I had it for the time being, while I was using it. But I definitely say this is a good backup rod for me for the time being. Not in the state that it is. I'm going to fix that. But not in the state that it is. But it's a good rod if you're looking for something to fill the gap of Bass Finesse. I had it paired with the Curado BFS. Like I said, if you're looking for honestly the best Bass BFS combo that you can get within reason in the United States, it'd probably be the Curado BFS and a Carbonlite medium light rod. Alright guys and girls, before the rest of the video, I just want to do a quick little excerpt for today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Shop Crawls. If you guys haven't heard of Shop Crawls, is where I get essentially 95% of my tackle nowadays, because I just get it at a much better price and a much better discount. With Carl's Spectacle Lure Sale right now, you can save an extra $10 if you are making your first Carl's order ever. If you use code HunterFish10, it always helps me out in the long run when you use my codes like that, but it's actually really helping you out more than anything right now because the sale is insane. So say if you're a big bass guy and you're wanting to stock up on a lot of your bass gear, now is the time to do it. Personally, I'm not doing a whole lot of bass fishing myself right now, but there's a few saltwater baits on sale, so I definitely do suggest checking that out yourself. There's also going to be a lot of brim fishing supplies. I mean, tons of different things are on sale on Carl's right now, so if you guys want to go save a ton of money on a lot of your tackle right now, I know a lot of you guys are losing ice, a lot of you guys are losing that cold weather. To be honest, I was loving the cold weather, and now I kind of miss it already. It was kind of colder than normal this past winter, and I didn't like that. But now looking back on it with my fishing right now sucking like it does, I kind of wish I had it again. So I'm gonna let you guys see the rest of the video. I'll see you guys next. Well, I'll see you guys in the outro. That is it for today's video, guys and girls. I hope you liked that little short video of me covering the Bass Pro Shops BFS rods. Now, I'm not in any way associated and getting compensation for making this video. I just work there. I literally just work in the marine department. There's literally no reason for me to say these things about these rods. But what I think is you guys are probably curious what BFS rods you can get in the United States and that are perfectly attainable, because I've noticed there's a very large gap in how many rods you can get in the United States for as far as BFS goes. So I wanted to inform you guys of these rods that are available to the public. I mean, I'm not special because I'm an employee. You can go and get these rods online at any point in time, or if you even have them in your store, you can find them in your store. I would suggest these rods, especially the lower end rods, because they're good backup rods. And if you're somebody who's getting into BFS but you don't want to jump the gun and go buy a rod from overseas, I think the lower end Bass Pro BFS rods fit that bill. And even if you're looking for a little bit of a higher end of the Bass Finesse rod, I think that the Carbonlite series presents something that's good as far as the direction that I think Bass Pro should go in, especially with they're covering the panfish era, their trout era. I mean, they're doing things to cover the ultralight game pretty well. I think that they're going in a good direction by having these rods and these powers and in these loadouts. I genuinely think that these are good products. I'm not saying it because I'm an employee. I'm genuinely saying these are good products because I'm a fisherman just like you. And I got into BFS and I tried these rods and I love them. Once again, guys, I highly suggest these rods. If you guys want to get these rods, I'm gonna leave links down in the description. They do not help me at all. These links will not get anything to me. It genuinely does not matter or does not make a difference to me if you get these rods through my link, if you get these rods from bassproshops.com, it does not make a difference. I'm making this video so that you guys can see what is out there on the market so that you guys can go pick up these rods and get good deals as far as what BFS goes. Because I want to see the sport and the niche of BFS fishing grow. I want you guys to get good products. I want you guys to get into the BFS game, because one thing is for sure is that BFS will change the way you fish. Learning how to fish light and it gives you more of an appreciation for the fish, especially like me. I do inshore BFS fishing. That means a completely different aspect to most people. They probably would call me nuts. They probably call me crazy. They would probably call me all these things, stupid, whatever you want to call me. But I'm telling you, get into it and find out for yourself how much fun BFS can be. If you guys, like I said, want to find these rods, link in description, or you can search it up on BassPro.com. Either way, guys. But I want to say thank you again for watching, and remember, guys, fish fear me.